On our AAC applications, we have the choice of using single words for creative message generation and the use of complete phrases for quick communication. Generative language is the term we use to describe a person putting individual words together and adding word endings to say a novel sentence of their own. You may have heard this term SNUG, which means spontaneous novel utterance generation, to describe this. Pre-stored messages are those messages, typically complete phrases or sentences, which require the person using AAC to simply access one button to speak an entire message. The debate over which of these to use on your AAC system has a lot of nuances, which we will explore in our session. We're considering the question, is AAC more important for immediate participation in our environment, or to allow our student to develop language skills to allow autonomous, unlimited communication over time? If you've been around us very long, you may suspect that we want a little of both. So let's take a look at what this looks like on our different AAC applications. Pre-stored messages are represented in different ways on different AAC applications. You'll see them called quick messages or quick fires, social phrases, or scene or context-based messages. Quick messages are used on Unity and LAMP applications, and you'll find them under the Yes/No button. On Proloquo Go, you find the social messages under the Chat button on the home page. These are quick single word or phrases that are meant to be communicated with a single button selection, not as a part of a sentence you're developing. Typically, a bit more lengthy phrases are used to meet these quick social communication needs. You'll find these on the Prinky Romic devices under the Activity row for greetings, chatting, introducing yourself, commenting, and sharing information about your communication system. Tobii Dynavox has a set of pages called Quickfires, which have social categories to express greetings, social commenting, personal needs, feelings, questions, and conversational repairs. Pre-stored messages are often used to increase a person's ability to interact in real time and to meet their functional needs. Single-hit messages work very well to increase participation in environments where a student may be under stress or needing to communicate quickly. In this video, our friend is leaving his normal classroom activities to go up front to meet Miss Kathleen in the office. POD, or Pragmatically Organized Dynamic Display Systems, are a prime example of the use of pre-stored messages for communication. Originally, POD was a book that a partner presented to a student, turning pages as the student indicated their desired messages. POD books with smaller grid sizes are completely set up as a series of phrases or carrier phrases which tell the partner which page comes next to complete the message. For example, a student might indicate, "I want," on this first page. Then the partner turns to page 11 in this photo example to give the student a page of commonly desired items or activities. The student then finishes the sentence, "to go outside." POD at this level is only comprised of phrases and messages, these carrier phrases, without single word options to create your own messages. POD books with larger grid displays have single word options for sentence generation, just like many of the other AAC applications. On some AAC applications, in this case TD Snap, pre-stored messages also come in the form of topic or context-based messaging. The way these work is that there is a page set up for highly frequent typical daily activities, like going to the cafeteria, going to the restroom, having morning meeting, riding on the bus. On these pages, you'll find all of the different messages and words that you might need to communicate quickly and participate in that particular environment. No navigation needed. You'll find appropriate questions, comments, requests, and links out to specific words related to that topic or context. For example, in art class, you'll have messages such as, "What do you want to make? I like that. It's pretty. I need some more." You'll also be able to link out quickly and easily to related topic words such as colors or art supplies so that you can be more specific. You might wonder when we would use context-based or social or topic-based messaging. I have two examples for you. Student 1 is a student who has social anxiety. He has a great deal of difficulty with delayed gratification, to the extent of even exhibiting self-injurious and aggressive behaviors. He shows anxiety with any functional demand, but He also has a very strong motivation to communicate and participate with others in his environment. The faster communication that occurs with context-based messaging decreases his anxiety during his functional living activities. It allows him to participate with less anxiety and more success. He still uses core vocabulary for requesting, describing, basic responding in familiar environments with familiar partners, for motivating non-stressful situations when he is not in any kind of a hurry. My second student has an extremely short attention span, 2 to 3 seconds, which impacts the retention of his message during construction of the message. Basically, he forgets what he was saying when he's moving from page to page creating a sentence because he becomes distracted by so many other items and people in his environment. He's never been successful moving past a single selection method. We worked on core vocabulary production for years. He uses some individual core words successfully, but he still cannot combine words into sentences. He can use full phrase messaging to communicate in his home and school environment and out in the community. He also is a highly social young man who greatly enjoys being successful at communication. You may see visual scene displays used for context-based messaging. This creates a very simple navigation so that the student only has to match the environment they're in to a photograph on their device. This narrows down possible messages to those that are appropriate in the scene only, so there's less navigation. The negative to this, as in all context-based messaging, is there's lack of access to less predictable messages or topics when the person has something to say which is off topic. Some visual scene displays come from manufacturers not set up for communication, but only set up for labeling, so you want to keep an eye out for that too. We would use pre-stored messages basically in 2 different situations. 1 for frequent social needs or demands, and 2 for regularly encountered environments. You'll see some examples here. Now we're going to shift gears and talk about generative language components. These include core words, word lists, and keyboards. Core words are the 200 to 400 words that we use, including verbs, adjectives, adverbs, and pronouns, that make up approximately 80% of all of our daily words. Basically, it's everything except common nouns in categories. We teach core vocabulary because these powerful words allow us to communicate in a very general way almost everything that we want to say. The only thing they really don't let us do is to say specific things like pepperoni pizza, dachshund, or Hilton Head Beach. If we want to say these words like Starbucks, D&D, and daffodils, we have to have fringe vocabulary available on our AAC system. Fringe vocabulary, or basically those noun categories, are the specifics of communication. With these words, you can communicate specific pieces of information. Academic vocabulary, favorite places and people, animals, body parts, clothing items, for example. Take a moment to make a list of your fringe words. What are the things that you like to do for entertainment? Your favorite foods and drinks? The people in your life? The places you like to go? Your hobbies? After you've written these down, take a second to think, why are these important? Well, we know that these are actually some of the first developing words that infants and toddlers learn. We learn the name of the people around us that are important. We learn the names of our favorite snacks. We learn the names of our favorite characters and shows and the places that we want to go. In addition, French vocabulary allows us to be specific, not just using general terms. If you want to say words like Starbucks, daffodils, and D&D, you have to have fringe vocabulary. These are things like our favorite entertainment options, our foods and drinks that we like, our people, the places we like to go, and our hobbies. Take a moment to write down a list of your fringe vocabulary words. What are the words that you can't live without? Now, why are French vocabulary words important? Well, first of all, these are our first developing words. Infants and toddlers first learn to say things like mama, cookie, blankie, very specific noun vocabulary words. These are first developing words because they are motivating for us to use. If you want your student using AAC to have ownership over their AAC system, you need to make sure that these very personal words are in that system. Finally, these words allow us to be specific, not just speaking in general terms. Consider the difference in saying, I want it, I like it, I have to have it, which can be quite open to misinterpretation, and instead using phrases with specific French vocabulary. I want coffee, I like grande mocha lattes, and I have to have one every Saturday after my yoga class. Now we're going to have a little fun. You should have downloaded a core board similar to this one, which we provided with the training. Using only the core board, tell your neighbor about your plans for the weekend. Remember, you can only use the words on this 36 location board. No speaking allowed. Go ahead and pause the video and give this a try. Now that you're back, let's talk about how that went. Were you able to successfully tell your partner your plans for the weekend? If they figured it out, did it involve a lot of guessing, or was it because they actually know you very well? Did you have to use gestures and facial expressions to get your point across? Now let's make this a little bit easier. Add the personal word list that you just created on the last slide. If you didn't actually make that list, go ahead and make a quick one right now with your favorite people, places, foods and drinks, hobbies, and leisure preferences. Pause the video and using your core vocabulary board plus this French vocabulary list, tell your communication partner what you did last weekend. What did you notice about the differences between these two experiments? In past sessions, participants have told us that they were able to share more specific information, learn something specific about their partner, and generally experienced a more effective, efficient, and interesting conversation. The last thing to consider is how much was the messages that you chose to convey impacted by your available communication options. Was there something you would have liked to be able to say but you didn't, simply because you knew you didn't have a way to say it? If so, the words simply didn't exist on your list, and no matter how much you wanted to tell your story, you were stuck talking about the subjects that were on that list. Imagine how this impacts our students when they give them a very simplistic AAC system with a very limited number of words or messages. If we're only giving them a topic-based board and they don't know how to navigate out to other words and messages, how much are they limited in being specific and saying what they want to say? So let's do a little review. Generative language includes keyboards with an alphabet, core vocabulary words, grammatical markers such as past tense ed and plural s. It includes word prediction, and it includes categorical word lists. So categories of words like animals that have a list of words that fall underneath those categories. Pre-stored messages include things like context-based pages that can be either on a scene or grid, readily accessible social management messages, and then general social pages like commenting or expressing needs or information sharing social messages. So let's do a little review. Generative language includes keyboards with an alphabet, core vocabulary words, grammatical markers such as past tense ed and plural s. It includes word prediction, and it includes categorical word lists. So categories of words like animals that have a list of words that fall underneath those categories. Pre-stored messages include things like context-based pages that can be either on a scene or grid, readily accessible social management messages, and then general social pages like commenting or expressing needs or information sharing social messages. For those of you who are speech-language pathologists, I can put it into terms that you understand. Generative language includes phonology, so those letters and sounds, semantics, which is words and their meanings, syntax, and morphology, so how we put words together and the word endings that we use. Pre-stored messages is simply pragmatics. When we're considering the use of generative language components or pre-stored messages, there are two basic decision-making factors. One is the precision of the message, and two is the efficiency or the rate of the message. Most of us need a little of both of these things. We need to be able to be precise in certain circumstances, and we need to be fast in others. There are times that your ability to communicate effectively and efficiently is imperative. For example, if you're calling to order your standard pizza, or you're stopping by for a quick chat with someone walking by you in the hallway. In the classroom, efficiency can be the difference in your student being able to participate with their peers or not. There are other times, though, that it's important that you're able to be precise in your message. For example, when you're describing what you did over the weekend, or you're ordering your meal in a new restaurant. Generally speaking, there's an inverse relationship between the efficiency of your message and the precision of your message. The more precise you have to be, the less efficient you're going to be. So we have to consider the student's needs in each moment. We have to think about whether our goal is for our student to participate or to be precise and creative generating their message. Or is it some combination of the two? As with most language options on AAC systems, we find that most students need all of these options: an alphabet, an extensive noun vocabulary and core word vocabulary set, personal word lists, social messages and needs, and predictable full phrases to match their commonly encountered environments. And that's why we want a robust AAC system for all of our students. As you finish with us today, take a minute to talk with your group to answer these questions. Considering generative language elements and social messaging elements, how well do the AAC applications that you currently use support these elements? Where do you find these elements on your AAC systems? If they're not there, is that intentional, or is there something we need to do to modify our students' current communication methods?